So with my chicks growing up, I wanted to build a temporary coop that I could use to help integrate them to the rest of the flock. And in addition to that, something I could potentially break down and use later in case of a chicken getting injured and needing to separate them, or if I decide to raise more chicks. And I wanted to have it so that I could pack it away and store it for later. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. If you've watched previous videos, including the one where I walk through the assembly of the coop and do a walkthrough of the coop, thanks for following along. I appreciate your interest. In this video, I'm building out my coop with a single piece of OSB plywood, in addition to a bunch of scrap wood that I had laying around, and some paint I had laying around, as well as some paint I got from our resource recovery, and then some 1x material that I used for the trim to make it look better. Okay, so for tools, I think I've got the bare minimum of what you're gonna need. I've got a skill saw. You need the battery for that. I've got a couple clamps. I've got a speed square, pen, tape measure, and a hammer. And I'm gonna see if I can get it done with just this. I might need to add, but that's the plan right now. I'm gonna be using a scrap piece of 2x4 for the legs. I've actually got 2 of them. And I'm gonna measure the first, which is 3'3". 3 foot 1, 2, 3. And then with the skill saw, you want to make it as deep as the material you're cutting. So for example, this 2x4, I'm going to make it as deep as the material you're cutting, and then just a hair more. So you want it to stick out just a hair past. That's the reason that I have this styrofoam board. And then you can take your skill saw and your speed square. You line up the blade with the thing, and you hold the speed square to help make it a straight line. And you cut right through. With this one, the edge is a little trash, up to about 6 inches. So I'm gonna be cutting that off. So I'm gonna add 6 inches to 2'9", which is 3'3". And then I need this to be 2'9". And we're gonna go ahead and cut this down to 2'9". Okay, so next I need 3 at 3 foot. I'm using, this is scrap wood. I actually had it for something else, and so I'm just using that. And it's the same thing. Right, so measure it out. I'm just checking to see how long this is. 6 foot, just over 6 foot. So I'm going to mark out 3 foot. Now I've dug deeper into my styrofoam because I didn't measure it. So I need to make sure when I'm cutting that I measure it down and readjust based on the material I'm cutting. Now I need a couple at 3'1". This is a bit warped, so you can see it's kind of a banana. So I'm going to try and cut smaller pieces for this. In the plan, I've got these 2 at 1'9" for the big door. I'm actually going to change that because I need a little bit of room at the top for the crossbar. So probably change that to 1'7". just, it'll be plenty of room, just so that I have room for the top bar. And then I need one at 2 feet. So now I've got the basic framing for the sides. Now I got to do the front and the back. Okay, so I've measured out the last of the pieces, and I think I will just barely make it. I'm hoping. So I need 2 cuts at 1'9". And from this, I'm going to be getting, I've written it down, 2 at 2 feet and 1 at 2'3". Take 2'3" one first, and then 2 at 2 feet. And then this next one, the same thing. 2 at 2 foot, 1 at 2'3". And then this last one is going to be 2 at 2 foot. Well, a little bit of a mistake. Basically, how you want to think about it is with the frame, right? So the outsides, for me, the outsides of each one of these is 1.5 inches. Okay, and then the width is 1 inch. It's basically, so if you go on the outside like this, well, let's just do it here, where you line these up. These pieces are 2 feet, and you line up these pieces. Now you've got exactly 2 feet right here, right? So we actually need to cut off right here and right here, because each one of these is 1.5 inches. And that would make it exactly 2 feet, which is what I had planned for in my coop. So let's get going. Okay, and lastly, I need to cut 2 10-inch pieces. Now we are going to start assembling the walls, and I'm going to mark out where the pieces are going to go. So I know where to put the nails. No, I need to. I found that the table is not sturdy enough, so I am hammering it all on the floor to make it more solid. You can see I did nail these in by hand. Well, I guess you can see me crouching down. I nailed these in by hand. It's not great in terms of alignment. I am going to use it can be done, you know, to build this out. This is going to take me like 3 years, not really, but it takes a lot longer. I have the tools. I'm going to use my nail gun, my finished nail gun that I have, just to try and get this moving. But you can nail this by hand. And I'm going to use glue to secure the joints together. So I'm just, again, marking out where things are. I've marked the center line, and I want it to be 8 inches, so 4 inches away on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where I'm going to put those. right here is where my audio died. So I just copied some sounds to make it seem like that's what was going on. So you can kind of get the visual of it with the sounds. But my mic had died, so these noises are not real. And then I'm explaining, I got one piece of OSB plywood from Lowe's, and I had them do two cuts, and then I'm doing the additional cuts as needed. And right here, I'm cutting out the hole for the vent. When you're cutting with the skill saw, and you're doing it interior like this, you're not actually gonna get all the way to each end unless you go over the line, and I didn't want to. That's where a hand saw comes into play, so you can finish off those cuts. And that's what I'm explaining right here with it not going to each end on the corners. I wanted to actually I've got some hardware cloth right here, and I wanted to put it there before I put the plywood on, just to make it stronger. Hardware cloth is really what you want. You don't want chicken wire. Hardware cloth is smaller, so it's hard for rats and vermin and stuff to get into, and it's just a lot safer for them. So I had a piece of extra, and I just cut it down and stapled it in. And now I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna throw it on here. Make sure it all lines up. Throw some glue on where I can. And nail it in. There you go. There's the back. I do need to throw some nails across this. Make sure that nothing came through. I do have to pull out a couple of nails, which will be easy. Okay, so now the front and back are done. Throw some wood glue on it. And nail it in. Got that one done. There's a couple of nails I'm gonna have to pull out. A few nails down the middle. So we've got the last side. I didn't cut the thing as I had mentioned, the hole, because I actually want to put hinges on it first before I mess with finishing cutting it, to make sure that it's perfectly aligned. So I'm going to leave that for after. Some glue on it. The other one I had it marked. This one I didn't mark it, so I need to just make sure that it is aligned. Ran out of nails. I'll put some more nails in, but you can see that's done now. Starting to take shape. Now you can kind of get an idea of how it's going to look. So now I've got to do the bottom, which the plan is I'm going to put two 2x4s, and then I'll have a piece of plywood that slides right in, and then I will build out a top frame. So now I'll be able to put a piece of plywood right here on the underside, and that's going to be this last piece of plywood. I'm going to measure and cut the bottom side. I'll have to cut out the pieces, and then the remainder will be for the top. And I will put corrugated roofing over this just to make it more weatherproof, but I'm going to build out a top that I can screw on and off. So this is just over 3 feet. So then the other one is 25. Now you can use another straight edge. I have this long level, which is very useful, as well as a straight edge. So find our marks. And this is actually where having the level and some clamps can be very helpful. So this dimension from the blade to the end here, you're going to want to butt this end right here to make a straight cut. So you want to measure that distance. I swear, if I didn't have my brain attached, I'd lose that well. I probably have. So we're going to measure this out. That is 1 inch. So we are going to go 1 inch. Now you can take into account the blade has a certain thickness, so you're actually going to be cutting that off. I'm not too worried. It's called the kerf. I'm not too worried. I'm just going to go right at 1 inch and secure that down. You want to make sure that you're doing it on the side that you're not going to be cutting, so that the clamps don't get in the way. Check again. Get moved a bit. Right there. Don't fully tighten it down until dead on with it, clamped but loose. This needs to move over a hair. So that's 1 inch. Check again. Check this side. Actually, we need to check and make sure that it's not too deep and it's close, but and then we'll just run it along this fence blade. I don't do it over here because it ends up butting up sometimes with the fence. So you get a nice straight cut. And let's measure and measure. And it'll sit right there. I'll put a 2x2 piece right here to close off this hole, just because I don't want anything climbing in there. So in measuring it, you want to measure, I got to get this cut out. So this is 4.5 right here. And then right here, it's 2.5. So I'm going to cut that out. And that's on all 4 sides. So I'm going to cut that out. And then I will have to cut this notch out as well, but I'm starting with the 4 legs as the largest things. So from there, the speed square actually gives you dimensions on it. So I'm just going to use that. Not quite as tight of a fit. We're going to do that all the way around. I'm going to get those measurements of the other little parts. 5. And we go ahead and cut that out. Now I got the little handsaw. So because it's so small, I can't get that blade in. I'm doing little cuts, and then I'll just break them off. Pretty snug fit. What it seems like is on those 4-inch corners is where it's a snug fit. So I'm gonna make it less snug. It's gonna take forever. Perfect. I have to cut a little bit and I'll nail that down. Next, for the top, we need to tape measure and measure out in the same locations. Make sure that's 22. And down here, that's 22 as well. So we're gonna cut 2 pieces at 22. Make sure we've got enough. 44, that's good. Make sure that that fits. Just a hair too tight. Trim just a hair off this. All right, let's get this next one. Now we've got our glue. Okay, I've got all the pieces. They're all kind of laid out. I want to slap some lipstick on this pig and see if I can make it believe it's a swan. I've started by painting the insides just because my battery was dead. I couldn't film it, but it's just painting the insides. And the paint that I'm using, this is actually, I got it from our restore. It's, I don't know if you can see, but it's latex paint. It's reblended, so it's just been a mixture of a bunch of paints, and they give it away for free. So I was able to get this for free. I'm gonna let that dry out about a bit while I go get the corrugated sheet that I plan to put on the top. I got my little chop saw out. It is hot, and I would like to try and wrap out as much as I can right now. So switching over to this, find my brain really quickly. Good morning. Let's see if we can get this wrapped up. This is supposed to be a throw together coop. This is what not planning can get you. Take a little bit longer when you're improvising. First, I have this piece of scrap 1/8-inch plywood that I'm going to use to make the door. Is the only thing I had that was big enough. It'll cover the door and be able to slide up. So I'm going to cut this down to what I need. I have these paint stirrers, and you can see it would give it a lip, so I could just combine a couple of them and create a lip there for it to slide in. We're actually going to cut off down at the bottom 1.5 inches because we're going to have a piece down at the bottom that's going to be the support for this. We'll start by just tacking them in at the back just to hold them in place. Make sure this is perfect. It slides right up. So we'll go ahead and mark that out. Now we've got this door. Because it's long like that, and I only have a couple little hinges. My plan is that I'm going to put the hinge on the top and have it swing up. And the idea is I want to have it like this. It's going to have a little bit of a lip to sit into. And then we'll have one here that's going to be secured to this. We're going to have this, just make it look a little bit nicer. This is staying in because I have the corners still intact. And in order to get this going, I am going to need to remove those. But the reason for that is so that I can make sure that's lined up for the door, right? So I'm not having to line everything up. So the idea is I need to do the top first. And the first thing is I'm going to cut up here to the top points on here. And then I'm going to run the inside piece right here. And yeah, and then once I have that and this top one, then I'll put hinges on them. And then I can cut everything else out. It's 26. Hold on. Come here. You're okay. You're okay, buddy. He's a little nervous at the saw. My other one is a lot more willing to be around the compressors and saws and everything. And Olaf will, but he prefers not to. It's a little loud. And here's where my audio goes out again. This time I did not fill in the noises. Just use the background music. Let me know which one you prefer in case this happens again. So we've got the front. You can go and open it up. It's a little sticky because of the paint. And then you've got a roosting bar right here. You got the vent. And we'll put sawdust down or some sort of flooring down for them. You get the front with the ramp. And then this is the door. Right now I've just got a nail and it'll let this slide down. And then I can put the nail in and that stops it from opening. In case anything is trying to get in there, I can put I'm going to put some string right there to make it a little bit easier, but for right now, I can do that. And that'll hold it up. And I painted the top white just to reflect more heat. And you got the back side. And you come around and there is a screen for airflow. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. If you wanted to see the assembly video and dimensions, I'll try and leave a link here. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you're interested in following the adventures of my garden and chickens and everything else I'm doing, subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.